Well, I'm finally getting some wheat berries, so I thought I'd bring you along as I bake some of my first recipes with fresh milled flour. Just going to share how it works, my honest first impressions with the recipes with doing this, and just what I've learned starting out if you're new or even considering this. I got some great things in this haul, so I'll just show you quickly everything. Of course, the essential soft white and hard white wheat berries for all of this baking. My kids love these fruit bites, and organic popcorn can be surprisingly hard to find. My kids also love these freeze-dried strawberries, and this is such a good deal you can get there compared to what you get for a small bag at the grocery store. Got some pasta. I'm really excited to try this shampoo bar to kind of cut my footprint there. And butter is one thing that I find really hard to buy at the grocery store at this good of quality, and they had a good sale. Some peaches were on sale, and I got a few other dairy products that were at a good price and hard to find. Some maple syrup. Their maple syrup is so much better, as well as their cream and milk. Butter and milk is one of the best things you can buy from here other than the wheat berries. My boys had to have a glass immediately. I got 2 buckets to store all the berries in. I bought the bucket and the gamma lid. This just ensures they stay fresh without going bad or like molding. I got the 3.5 gallon bucket, and I must say it holds this full bag of wheat berries perfectly. I also got some large jars to store the berries in, so I don't have to go to this bucket every time I want to use them, even though it's not too bad. But I got the long lids for them, so I'm gonna have to order them next time. I have found that Azure has a pretty good deal on glass jars that are good for like canning or storage if you're interested in them. I'm just gonna store my buckets behind my large curtains here. I do need to figure out another place though, because my boys really try to like climb on them. In terms of just using berries, I found that I'm using a lot more soft white wheat. Typically, soft white wheat is more for sweeter or lighter breads, and hard white wheat is for heartier breads like that you need to stretch or knead. I've just found my family's making the switch a little bit easier, and breads are turning out better if I use soft white wheat, and it's still a huge improvement to what I was using before. And just over time, I'm going to start incorporating more hard white wheat. In case this contraption here of the mill has ever sort of intimidated you, I'll just quickly run through how to use it. I did watch a lot of videos before and recommend that, of course. You do have to use rice to clean it out, so just 2 cups of rice run through it, and then you can get started with your wheat berries. I always measure my wheat berries before and turn the machine on. It should always be turned off without the stones grinding. So just flip it on and twist it clockwise until you hear the stones touching. It's a very clear sound, and back it off. There you go, just like that. The berries go in, and I just slightly turn it clockwise until I get the consistency of flour I'm used to, just like a nice light powder. Over time, I'm getting better at this. It doesn't take that long. Overall, pretty simple. It's pretty easy to integrate. It's just, a couple more minutes to what I'm already doing, and it gives us a lot more nutrition, a lot of flavor, and it is cheaper too. My first time using it, I went super easy. I'm using a recipe that is made directly with fresh milled flour, so it's not like a conversion. It's also half all-purpose to make sure everyone would like it. And it's yeasted, so it's quick. It's a yeasted sandwich dough bread, which is easily used for a bunch of different things. It rose fantastic. It was super easy to work with, and just helped make the experience not feel too overwhelming. And while it was an easy first experience, I did find that the bread was a little bit dry and just not dense enough to really be a great sandwich bread. It tasted good, but we just really, I think, prefer the taste of fermented sourdough bread now. I feel like I can go with yeasted stuff for more like sweet type of things, but for bread, I really want that sourdough taste, and even my kids almost want it now too. They can tell when it's not there. I made 2 loaves because, it's always good to make 2, and instead of using the second loaf just as bread, I turned it into a breadcrumb. Now I have a bunch of breadcrumbs on hand, and the breadcrumbs are super, super delicious. Good breadcrumbs make a difference in the recipe you're using them in, and now I have them for a good solid 2 weeks. Such a nice, cozy, rainy day, and that break occasionally in summer is just so nice. Everyone really content to be inside together doing what we like. It's a perfect time to make a cherry pie that I've been thinking about. My youngest has been asking for a pie for months and I've been putting him off, so I'm doing it now. I decided on Farmhouse on Boone's 100% whole wheat pie crust recipe, and overall huge success. The process is exactly the same, just adding in fresh milled flour, and my biggest surprise overall is just how much better everything tastes with this pie crust with everything I've made. It has such a nice, delicious, nutty sweetness that makes other breads seem a little bit bland now. It's like once you try better milk or go to sourdough, it's kind of hard to go back. People just really don't talk about that enough, that benefit enough. I've been wanting to do this for a solid probably 2 years, and I just never knew that about fresh meal. Yes, it's packed with more proteins, more vitamins, more minerals, but usually you compromise taste when you get all that health, and here you're gaining a bunch of flavor. And I promise you, it's not like a weird health food type of flavor. I do find fresh milled a little bit harder to work with though. This pie crust turned out a little bit wet to me, so it stuck a lot more than normal. I always like to roll pie crust out a few times. I just think it makes the ultimate crust a little bit more flaky, but next time I'm going to skip that here because it's just too much of a pain. It overall came together. I just had to add a lot more flour than I normally would. I'll write out the cherry and strawberry filling I made below, but it's just sugar, lemon juice, salt, vanilla, and I used a little bit of arrowroot powder to help thicken it. I just wish I had more strawberries on hand because it was not quite enough filling. I'm so surprised. My son remembered that we needed to braid the pie topping, like kind of crisscross it over, and wanted to help with that. He remembers that from making pie last fall, and it just goes to show me that all this effort to feed them healthy, delicious food keeps them healthy, but it also creates such nice memories. He's getting to a core memory stage, and I truly hope this time in the kitchen together ends up being one of them for him. He even told his pappy about how he got to have pie that night, though I think I need to start making more pies. One tip, just don't forget to put the tin foil over the crust if you don't have like an actual product for that. Just roll a little tin foil over them. They do burn, and a pie is done when you get bubbling in the middle. If you've been following me in the kitchen for any amount of time, you know that graham crackers are a favorite here, and I've always made them with whole wheat flour, so it just felt like a natural choice of one of the first things to try. I did see someone post a sourdough fresh milled recipe that I'm trying, and while they taste super delicious, they're very good. They are just a bit too crumbly for my young kids, especially because these are something we like to take on the go. The recipe did call for, I think it was just honey and maple syrup, and I know that whipping butter with sugar does give some structure, so that's missing, along with some eggs. So I'm gonna try to maybe incorporate the eggs in and maybe a little bit of butter and sugar first. I'm finding out more and more that I'm just coming up with my own recipes from a mixture of just trying all these others and considering a blog for all of these. Let me know in the comments if you're using my recipes I provide, and if that would be something useful to you to have actually really what I'm cooking and not just the recipe I'm basing it off of. A tip with graham crackers is to just refrigerate them directly in the parchment paper instead of cling wrap. A lot of will say to roll it up in cling wrap and then refrigerate it, but you can just do it directly in the parchment paper, open it up and roll it out on that parchment paper. The key really to any graham cracker is to bake until just golden around the edges, but not longer. I make probably at least 2 sourdough bowls every week, so I've been trying out a bunch of different recipes. This is after a little while. There's no perfect one I've gotten to yet though, unfortunately. I have got the right texture, the crust is really nice, and it tastes amazing, and my kids love it, which is great. It's just still a bit flat, it's not this nice puff to it. I've been reading that it's likely because the gluten isn't developed enough, and not fully developed. It's a little harder to get to that in fresh milled. So I'm gonna start doing some more stretch and folds in the evening and maybe try to reduce the fermentation time a bit. It's a bit hard because I usually do it overnight, so I've got to work with the schedule. But I also think the biggest thing is that most recipes don't call for enough water, or the ones that I'm just using to convert 1-to-1, there's just not enough water in there. I always let the dough rest for 1 hour and then start the stretch and folds, but by that point it just seems really dense, so it's really hard to get much stretch over. So I think maybe a combination of these things will help me get to the perfect one. I'll play with it and hopefully can come back with a great recipe for you all if you're cooking like this. Let me know if you have any good tips or if you have a great recipe that you follow for fresh milled. Here, I really love doing the sort of cold start method with this. Instead of putting the Dutch oven in and letting it preheat with the Dutch oven and get hot. I think they say to do that because of the oven spring, but I found with really fresh milled grains, which I haven't tried it with all-purpose, I'll have to try, but I was having trouble with them looking very flat. So one of y'all recommended this and it works out so well. And I love not having like a scorching hot pan to deal with, and usually there's children running around too, so that helps. So instead of having parchment paper, it's also nice that you don't have to waste a piece of, or use a piece of parchment paper every single time you're baking bread, because you know we do it a few times a week, it kind of adds up. So here I just cover the bottom with oats the best I can. You get a little oaty bottom, which is nice. I found the best for me in my oven. Every oven's a little different and every bread's a little different, but 450 is the temperature for 55 minutes. Then I'll take the lid off and let it bake for another like 8 minutes, tends to be the best time. Well, thanks so much for following along as I start this journey. I hope it gave you a little bit of inspiration. If you're looking to go this route and know that it is possible and it's not that hard, be sure to follow along for more cooking and cozy homemaking. I'll see you in the next one.